Hi, and welcome back to That's So Nova. Thank you for stopping by, and I appreciate it. Um, I will, I can't talk today. I'm like, have you ever had one of those days where like everything you say comes out wrong? Today's that day for me. Today we're gonna be making the Making It backpack, the Noodlehead, and I really love this backpack. It was the first square backpack. I actually think it's the only square backpack I've ever seen. I may retract that later, but I think I'm almost positive. When I first seen this backpack, it was in I think it's called the Making It magazine. And I totally was enamored with this backpack. I think I bought the magazine and then I turned around and I bought the paper pattern from In the Line Bags because it was just a gorgeous backpack. There are measurements for each one of the pieces that you cut out there, so there's no actual physical paper pattern pieces, but the measurements are quite simple. There's not odd measurements. It's not like 3 3/16. It's like, oh, 3.5 or 13 inches, or it's easy. Trust me, because I completely suck at doing measurements. For some odd reason, I always am like 1/4 of an inch off or 1/8 of an inch, or one side looks longer than the other. But with this pattern, there's not a lot of pieces, and the simplicity of this bag is astounding. Now, you've seen me make tons of pattern, and you're like, Shnova, you always say that you love every single pattern. And I do. Designers are to me are like stars. You can't just pick one and say that's your favorite. They all have a uniqueness to them that make you want to make this bag. So what I'm going to start doing in the beginning of each one of my videos is explain to you why I like this pattern and why I love this designer. Um, this backpack, there's something about Noodlehead's entire collection that has this simplistic charm that you want. You automatically envision that you're walking through a field of dandelions and sunflowers, and there's butterflies and dragonflies floating all around you. She has a very whimsical simplicity about her. It's nothing complicated. It's just raw and real. And every single one of the patterns I've ever made, and I pretty much stalk her page for any upcoming patterns, is amazing. Please go and look at her collection. She also makes videos showing how to make some of the harder points of backpacks, and sometimes she has full-fledged sew-alongs. Like, I believe she had a sew-along this year for the Sandhill backpack, which you should definitely make. It is beautiful, and she has a uniqueness about her where she gives you a lot of options throughout the bag. You with any of her bags, like how you finish it, how you can add things like rivets, or you don't want to add rivets, or um, magnetic snaps, or line 24 snaps. There's a lot of beauty in her patterns because she gives you so many different options to make your backpack, bag, tote completely unique than the next. So I will have her pattern information down below. I'm not her pattern, her website information. Again, the words. And we will start on this bag. Okay, so we're making a backpack. I'm not going to be giving you any measurements because I don't want to give away anything that is crucial for this pattern, because designers work so hard on their patterns and they deserve every dime from every single person that goes and gets about one of their patterns. They work so hard. The way their minds work is astounding. So we're going to, you're at this point, if you're going to sew along with me, we are going to follow the pattern exactly. There's only one or two modifications, that not modifications to the back structure, but as in materials that are not being used because either I ran out or there's something that you like. I find it interesting that a lot of people are like, I don't want to look at a tutorial that has any modification, but realistically, in a sewing room or your sewing table or your kitchen table or wherever you're sewing, there might be coming situations where you have to make a modification, where I don't have enough of this bias binding, I'm going to use twill tape, or I don't have this, I'm going to use a leather strap and rivet it on. I don't know about you, but probably like 30% of the time I don't have everything that I want for the pattern, and that doesn't hold me back. I can wait and order what exactly the pattern has, or I could try to make slight modifications to things that I love. So with that being said, and I can get off my soapbox, we're going to start. I'm going to be using wax canvas, and the canvas I'm using is from Fabric Funhouse. Now this canvas is called Rustic. I know, it does look like rust, but there's something beautiful about it because how it appears on camera is kind of how it appears in person. It's an orange brown. It literally is, if you watch ever seen Freddy Krueger, it is the color of the red part of his sweater. But I love it because there's something that's beautiful about it. And the lining I'm using is from the Abandoned collection from Tim Holtz. Tim Holtz is his Abandoned collection, and the Abandoned 2 collection is amazing. If I had the money, I would buy every single one of the Abandoned 2 collection in the bolts. They're just so gorgeous. Like how there is different wording on here, like New York and little squirrel marks for the leaves, and then it's just beautiful. It's gorgeous. I can't explain it. So when I seen that I was going to use this, I was like, I'm definitely cutting this for the lining. I'm using Saba thread like you normally do, 40 weight, and I'm using beige because I had nothing that really looked like the color rust. The reds were too red and the orange was too orange, so I just decided to take the color beige because it's a neutral color and it actually blends really quite nicely. We have to baste down the pieces. If you see down here, I have the the beige stitching on the 1/4 of an inch seam bias. Not bias. I'm sorry. We have to baste down with 1/4 of an inch. So because I'm using waterproof canvas, I did not have to, not waterproof canvas. Come on, Nova. Because I'm using wax canvas, I didn't have to use a Shade Flex or Sewfuse because you can't put heat on this. And it's really, really sturdy. I think I'm using a 10 ounce weight. So I have that. I did put Sewfuse on my lining pieces. So I will put a link for that. I'll put a link to where I got the fabric for the Abandoned 2 collection. It's from Fabric Candy Shop or Fabric Candy Shop. Those women in New York really work hard to get all the fabric lines out to you, and they box everything. It's just amazing. And you can pre-order stuff, so you can get like the whole collection, and it really makes me happy. I couldn't find zippers that match, but then I thought, hey, this really teal green with this antique is what we're going for. My straps, the webbing on the back is a burgundy, and I didn't have enough of this, so I didn't want to order it. I'm using this 3/4 of an inch leather for the handles. Now, I wish this was a 1 inch, but I only have 3/4 of an inch, so I'm making it work. And it's a sewable leather, so we're going to have some fun with this. There's a couple of leathers that are sewable. Noodlehead definitely carries some, and I know Hungry Hippie does. So I will put all that information in the bio too. None of these things are affiliate links. They're just things I like to purchase for myself. And in case you're wondering, I'm not a person to be like, this is my secret place. I'm not going to tell you. I feel like there's enough goodness in the world and just like share all of it. So let's start from the beginning. And the seam allowance is going to be 1/2 inch. And working with wax canvas, she suggests 10 to 12 ounce, so there's no need to interface. So we're going to start with putting the pockets right sides together. I'm just making sure I have the right side and not putting it the opposite way. There's a 1/2 inch difference, and you don't want to mess that up. So we're going to put the right sides together and then use a half an inch seam allowance. I'm sewing off my material that I have in my sewing machine, and as you can see, here I actually sewed the leather, because before I start any project, I like to test the tension. I like to test the material to make sure I get the right stitch on there. So at a 2.5 seam allowance, I'm going 2.5. No, I'm gonna do 3. 3 mls, number 3 stitch, and I'm going to sew at our seam at a 1/2 inch. And it looks like my thread already wanted to start acting a little wonky. Let's see what's going on. And I'm going to put the bobbin in. And hopefully we can just start from there. I'm just going to sew this off real quick to make sure that the bobbin's okay before we start again. Okay, no nesting, nice stitch. Okay, and all right, hold my tails and sew at the 1/2 inch. Make sure your back stitch and don't put your pedal to the middle. Okay. We're going to finger press this because, again, it's wax canvas and you don't want to put heat on it. The crinkling is part of its charm. You can use a blow dryer if some of the crinkles are bugging you, but the more it crinkles, the more it just looks really cool. Okay, we're going to top stitch this at 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so right here, this is when you're going to choose if you want to put a magnetic snap or line 24 snap, and we're going to put it through the. You could put it through the lining only if you're using a magnetic snap. If you're using a line 24, you can actually put it through, especially if you have a decorative cap or whatnot, and I do. So I am just finger pressing this, and then I'm going to use my foam finger, and I'm going to measure down 1 inch, and I'm just going to make a mark with my herringbone, or you can use your nail, whatever suits you. And I'm going to punch a hole through that. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my rivet press and change out my rivet, which I'm going to be using, which is the regular rivet my normal rivet studs, and I'm going to put a 24 snap. And it does take a little bit more work, but I love the magnetic snap. It's like amazing because it's like fast. But there's something about just like a regular snap, or like I'm using a line 24 snap, that gives it again a little bit more rustic charm. That's just my personal opinion. Everything's always personal preference. And this one has like a really pretty butterfly on it. And I'm just like, oh yeah, we're doing this. And I'm going to grab some interfacing. Poke a hole. I'm gonna trim it down. And I'm using a scrap piece of bouncy foam. I'm just sticking it the hole over the hole, aligning it with the one we have. I'm gonna grab a piece of leather scrap to put it over the fabric, so that way the fabric can age pretty well. Grab the head, stick it through the holes, and putting this little piece of leather. I might have to punch a little bigger hole, but it's good. And you can see I have the butterfly, and I want to make sure I'm facing the butterfly at the right angle, so it's facing down and not to the side. And I'm going to stick this on top of here. Not have my rivet press hanging off. And I have a snap. That is there, a nice one. And I'm going to put this down for right now before I add the main pocket to this. So this is going to line up on one of the main panels. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press my finger down and around, and I see the perfect hole. And I am just going to grab my mat. I have this handy dandy hole punch. I'm just going to punch a hole. And grab a piece of leather. And punch a hole. I just do the leather because I like reinforcement. And I'm going to start working on the mel. The mel side. Unscrew this real quick. Like I said, it does take a little bit of time, but in the end, to me, it's kind of worth it because you get like a very unique, and the piece just rolled right off. Let's see, grab the mill. My rivet press is from Minkus and Margo. I'll put the information down too. They are a shop that's on Etsy, and they are fantastic. They have a lot of different dyes and just really good rivets, really good customer service. So now I'm going to put the mill side in. I'm going to put the post in through the back, stick a piece of leather. I'm gonna roll this so I don't get as many a crease, I hope. Okay, and then I have it where it can snap. So I'm going to take the mill off because I know I'm going to be using the rivet press as its normal rivets in a few moments. All right. I keep all the bags too. My plan is for over the holidays is to try to organize all the rivets I have. It's a tedious task, but it's something that I really, really want to do. Okay. Let me get all these snaps right here. This. All right. So we're going to baste down this pocket. I'm going to pop a few clips. Baste this down at 1/4 of an inch. One moment. Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry, this spraying just a bit, and I don't want it to get caught. So I'm just okay. So we basted it down, and now we're going to do some cool measurements. All right. So we're on page 5 still, and we're going to make some markings, and it looks like it's really hard to do on wax canvas, but it's not. We're going to use a herringbone or a bone finger, or they call it a lot of different names. We're going to measure 2.5 inches in from each side, and then we're going to kind of curve the pocket. We're going to go 2.5 inches basically all around. So what I'm going to do is I'm kind of going to mark the 2.5 inch square part because we're going to round it. Okay. There's a method to my madness, I promise. So we're going to take the 2.5 inch mark, and I'm going to draw a line. And do another line. And then I'm going to take a circle. Oh, if my line was straight, Genova, come on. I'm going to take a circle and kind of round the edge. And then just kind of make it go straight together. So we're making a U. So this herringbone tool, it will all just kind of disappear and go with the crinkles because it's not a permanent mark. So we're going to sew in. We're going to close this part. We're going to sew in. Just go over your stitches. Or I mean, go over, you can make a 1/8 stitch. We're going to move some stuff around because we're going to get interesting. We're going to go in at 1/8 of an inch and stop at the 2.5 inch mark. And just kind of fold it a little. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just do as best as you can. If you have to stop, stop with the needle down. Just find your rhythm. Okay, and then I'm going to knock over my water. Try to knock over. I'm going to drink some water and then move. Let's see. We can go over here. And finish off by closing off that 2.5 inches on the other side. So, you see we have a unique U. And then we have our close snap. And what I'm going to do, and it's optional, again, just like the snap is optional, is to put 2 rivets on this side just to help secure those stitching. All right. I'm going to kind of roll this again. Punch a hole in the center of the 1/8 and 1/4 stitch. And that's just there's like a half a square. So I'm just going to go from there. Let's snip these threads. Roll. I never have luck with hole punches, like even on the press. I prefer to smash them out with the drill bit thingy. Okay. I'm going to grab some rivets. If I have a chance to put rivets on everything, trust me, I will. It just, I don't know. I love rivets, and I like the fact that I feel like maybe it's just in my head, but I feel like it's a little bit more secure if it has rivets on there, especially when you have stitching like this and you can't do a lot of reinforced stitches, or it will show up on your on the fabric really well because of it's waterproof canvas. All right, so we did this part, and we're going to now make a few marks. We're going to mark our center. So I'm just going to crease this. And I'm going to lightly just make a mark right here so I see. And then we have measurements. We're going to mark. All right, so I made little marks on my canvas, not my canvas, yeah, my waterproof canvas for where we're going to put the handles. Now, I'm going to, if you were using cotton webbing, you would turn underneath the handles 1 inch, and then you'll make a rectangle box that is 1 1/4. And I'm not going to turn the handles over. So what I need to do is actually take off 2 inches to account for the 1 inch that on each side that you're supposed to take off, so the handles land up. If you're going to do a modification, make sure you do the math for everything, because you have to turn in the raw edges of your webbing, and if you want the handles to match up, you need to take off the amount on your leather. So you have, if there's 1 inch on both sides, 1 plus 1 is 2, so you just take off 2 inches of your leather, and that's what I'm about to do. Let's see, I'm gonna ask my husband to perform magic. No, the pin. Thank you. So I'm just gonna mark the 2 inches off of here and cut that off. And the box that we're going to make is 1 1/4. So I'm going to just measure that before we do it, and just put a pin or draw with my tandy leather pin where that is. Now you can use double-sided tape, or you can pin it depending on what fabric you're using. I'm going to use some double-sided tape. Not a lot. I'm just going to put a small amount on the middle of each strap, so that way I can hold it down and line it up right. without like having things just fall on the floor. So let me put this down here. And I'm going to sew and make a box. Now you definitely can put rivets in this if you're like, hey, I don't want to sew through this leather. And it is an option I would recommend. And I'm going to do. I'm just going to make a box so that I can stitch down. Always stop in the needle down position. Make sure your other handle part's not in tucked underneath where you're like, oh, I accidentally sewed through it. I have done that. I actually I sewed through one of my rulers yesterday on a tester bag. It was the most hilarious thing. I was like, I cannot believe I just did this. Okay. I did not backstitch because I'm actually going to bring the stitching from the behind to make it look clean and no backstitching. And I'm going to stick a rivet in the middle to give it that extra security. Okay, and we're going to do the same on this side. Take off the double-sided tape. Make sure the handle's not all twisted. Put it on placement. I feel like this 1/4 of an inch was a little bit higher than this one. It's lower. Yeah. Yeah, I did like 1 1/8. I'll wipe that off later. Don't worry about it. It'll come off. Tandy leather pins are pretty good for not staying there. A little water and you're fine. If my tail threads want to go to the back, that'll be awesome. All right. I always like to start on the sides. I don't know why. I'm gonna go one more stitch. There's no rhyme or reason for it. I do. I take a lot of time on my top stitching because I try to get it as straight as I can, but it always doesn't work out like that. Okay. Pull these threads to the back. And then I'm going to put a rivet. All right. So I'm just going to make sure I can put an even rivet. I'm going to use this tool that I just got today. That wouldn't be too low. Hold on. That wouldn't be actually perfect though. Just one. Let's see, this will work out. Yeah, we're gonna do one. Okay. I'm going to grab my hole puncher. Roll this up a little so I can get to it. Punch the hole. Be more graceful than I am. If you want. Okay. I'm going to use a small rivet from Emmeline Bag. I usually get my rivets from Emmeline, Tandy, or Minkus and Margo, depending on what color way I want and the length of the post. Having the correct size for the rivet is really important. You want the rivet to be like 1/8 of an inch poking out or flush. If it's too long, your rivet won't set right and it won't be good. See, I'm trying to see if I can, the rivet is flush. My husband's trying to help out, right? The rivet is nice and flush with the backing. So when I put the cap on it, it's not poking out at all. And that's really important. If I were to stick a medium on it, I'll grab a medium just for teaching purposes, but I'm not going to put it in there with the cap. You can take it off if you have the cap on there, but if you were to grab a medium one, the post is sticking out about 3/8 of an inch, and so it wouldn't set right. When I first started bag making, I just wanted a bigger, like the circumference of the head. I wanted it to be bigger. That's why I went for bigger posts, because the bigger the post, the bigger the circle is right there. But then when I started to notice that my ribs were popping out, I realized that there was no way. I was setting myself up for failure for the rivets not being set right. Okay. And we're all done with the front panel. Now we're going to work on the zipper, gusset, and lining. This is super cute already. So let's start working on that. Get our two exterior, two interior, and our zipper. Okay, I'm going to make sure the zipper tape Man, this one frayed a little bit. I like to make my zipper tape like 1 inch longer so I can put the zipper head on at the end of putting this together. So um my zipper is not in the way when I'm trying to do this. So what you do is you're going to take your exterior, you're going to put your zipper tape right sides together, and you're going to put the lining touching the exterior right sides together. So we're going to make a little bit of a zipper sandwich. And then put some clips. And we're going to sew at 1/4 of an inch. And back stitch. Anytime you feel the zipper tape has shifted, just like fix it in the area so that way it can all get sandwiched in. If you feel like, hey, no, I can't do it, you can attach it to the zipper just to the main exterior piece and then stitch it down and then go back and stitch on the lining. Thread. Taking the lining and putting wrong sides with wrong sides. I like to do this with the linings facing up because I've had it notoriously where the lining gets stuck in the zipper tape area, and it's really frustrating when that happens. So I'm just like pulling the fabric towards me. Finger pressing. And we're going to top stitch at, I'm just going to check this because I feel like this side did not sew at 1/4 of an inch. And it didn't. It shows that I veered off a little bit. Just going to go over that one more time. This one smaller part. And how I could tell is I could see the stitching from the basting. And you definitely don't want that showing. Okay, pulling this, popping a few clips, and let's go back. 1/8 of an inch for me is in between my foot, so I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Okay. We have one side done. I really like the stitching on this. Okay. I'm going to sandwich this in this way. I always keep the other side clipped because I've had it where the lining, again, somehow magically shifts over to the other side that I'm sewing. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, I gotta take everything apart. I hate my seam ripper. Why did I do this? The whole questionable, I'm gonna question life thing. Okay. 1/4 of an inch. And the threads. Pulling the lining. I'm loving this fabric. And there's a little excess I'm going to remove. Okay. And we're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. We have our top zipper panel. I'm going to grab the zipper. I have all my hardware on in a little bag because I lose hardware in all the time. Going to install the zipper. And I kind of want to have a double. I'm just bringing this too close to the edge, and then I'm going to grab the other pole. We have our double zipper pole. I'm going to clip off this little ducktail. And then I am going to grab our zipper tabs. And baste these on at 1/4 of an inch. It's going to be a little thick. I should have did material but apparently I like to cause more trouble than I need. I'm gonna grab my other one. If I could find it. It should be in this pile of craziness. You know, I put a black clip on it too, so that way I was able to find it. And there it is. Yay, Nova! As you can see, I have my clip still on the sides because, again, things want to get shifty when you're getting to this point, and I just don't want to get something to shift and then it's stitched down. All right, so we have our zipper tabs on. Okay, so I was hesitant about this Teal, but it looks pretty good. All right, so we have this, and now we're going to go to page 8, and we're going to like do the rest of our gusset. Exterior. All right. So we're gonna grab our exterior. We're gonna put right sides together together on this. So exterior on exterior, and then we're gonna flip this over and put lining on lining. Now we're gonna sew all this, and it's gonna get really thick right here. So just take your time. Annie even says in the pattern, hey, you know, use a 116 denim needle, and she is absolutely correct. This is the thick. It gets a little thick here. You're almost there. All right. Okay. We're going to top stitch through all the layers. Top stitch through all the layers at a 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do, because I can't, you know, I usually draw. So I'm going to get my bone finger or just marking tool and draw a 1/2 inch so I can follow that line. This is the cool part about wax canvas. Other than it being cool. I'm gonna move these other pieces right here. Okay, it's gonna get a little thick. I promise you this is like the thickest part, and then after this is just like breezy. And I had to make it difficult. I was actually contemplating leather tabs. Get the excess thread. Okay. So we have one side down, and now we're going to go to the other side. Put exterior with exterior, and then we're just going to clip it. put lining with lining. And the same thing, we're going to clip it. And we're going to do the 1/2 inch again. Okay, so I'm a huge fan of a 1/2 inch because I feel like you have an opportunity to get all the layers, just in case, you know, something just slipped through the cracks and shifted. And we're going to it gets a little finagly, but you got this. I like to take at this point a couple of clips that I have on the top and just clip it down here, so that way all the the lining is taut and everything. And I'm going to draw the 1/2 inch. And I'm not poking my pointer tool inside. I'm just lightly drawing. I'm just going to follow that stitch. I really like how this fabric is showing up on camera. I just want to say that. You normally hear people like, oh, it's so much better in person and it doesn't look like this on camera. It actually is like a really great match. Okay, and I'm going to sew at the 1/2 inch. If you ever like, why does Shinova so weird? Like, I use both my left and my right hand, so sometimes I notice, like right now, I should have had the fabric facing the other direction, but I didn't. All right, so we have, let me finagle this. We have our gusset and our all done. And get rid of these threads that just want to stay around. And we are going to mark our centers. Okay, so we have our gusset, and what we're gonna do now is you're gonna want to match the seam to seam on both sides, and then you can use a marking tool or just clip like 1/8 of an inch, or you can go into 1/4 because this has a 1/2 inch seam allowance. You're gonna do this on all 4 sides, and then you put this aside. We're going to go to step 9. The beautiful thing about this next step, again, like I said, in the Noodlehead pattern, she has a tendency of giving you a lot of options. So you're going to see you can either do an alternate side connector where it's like a piece of fabric and it kind of reduces bulk because all the fabric is in the I'm trying to see if I have that. Like, no, I didn't cut one out. All the fabric is going to be in that piece of fabric and you insert your webbing. Speaking of webbing, in here, in the pattern, in the supply list, she says cotton or poly webbing. I love poly webbing for certain things, but most of the time I don't like it. It has like a shine to it and I don't like the texture. I do love cotton webbing. You can get cotton webbing at Amazon. You can get it from Noodlehead. There's so many. There's like a really cool shop on Etsy that just they do dog collars, but they have tons of webbing, and all the webbing is like cotton, and it comes in so many bright, vivid colors. And I have a tendency to go to them because I like to support small businesses. And again, I get unusual, unique colors. Like I'm really feeling this maroon because of the lining. So we're gonna go for option one, and basically this was a whole piece, and you're going to cut it on a 45-degree angle. So you have your little ruler, you put it at the 45-degree angle, you make the mark, make sure you're on a straight part, and you're going to have one going on one side, another. Then I stitched this because I don't like having a loose whenever I have a strap, I don't like this metal part to be loose at all. So I top stitch this really close with a zipper foot, and then I punch 2 holes. Now this is the part with cotton webbing that's very crucial. See, with polyester, you could just hit it with the flame and it'll melt because it's polyester. But with cotton, it has a tendency to fray. So fray check is going to be your best friend. It's going to be your absolute best friend. If you punch a hole, you put the fray check on both sides. And then I use 2 small rivets just for that extra security, knowing that strap is not going to go anywhere. And you can use fray check right here as well. So we're going to grab the main back panel piece. And as you can see, I have part of it already done. We're going to take the second part and measure 2 inches above the bottom. And we're going to put a clip. And then we're going to stitch this down using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And I just like to back stitch, giving it that extra reinforcement. Be really diligent about cutting your threads because when we bind, I hate having extra threads everywhere. So then you're going to grab one of your straps, and then you're going to take your strap, make sure it's not twisted, and you're going to feed it through your rectangle ring. We're going to go on top and through, and we're going to stitch this top one on at 1/4 of an inch. And this is where finding your centers are incredibly important because it makes sure that just makes sure everything is aligned. And I'm just back stitching at the 1/4 of a seam. And even with this, I put fray check on the all ends because things are gonna fray. Cotton wants to fray. I like to move my straps as close as I can without getting to the top, and then kind of clipping them in place so that they're not in my way when I'm sewing. And also when you do this, you can you're going to feel that, hey, these straps are in place. Because I could tell you, there's been so many times where I put in a backpack strap wrong, and trust, backpacks are my favorite thing to make. So we're going to now put the handle on the back of the other one. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I didn't have enough of this, but I refused to not use this because it goes really well with the rust, the deep rust. So I have a piece of leather, and I want to say this is from Georgia Stitch or So Hungry Hippie, and this is a sewable, really thin leather like the one in the front, and I'm going to put it right here, right sides together, and I'm going to stitch this in place. Now this is going to make the seam a little bit bulky when I'm going over it. When I'm going over it when I'm binding, but I'm willing to take this risk. Just making sure that it's not all twisty. This is exactly how I want it. And then I'm going to baste it down at 1/4 of an inch. Having sewable, like domestic friendly sewable leather is pretty cool. Because then you get your taste of leather if it's something that you really want to start working with. I know Noodlehead has it as well, and she has a really nice selection and nice weight. And if you go to her website and you look at her videos, she sews over. She does stitching with the her own, and it's pretty cool. So we have the back, and now we're going to start working on the pocket of the back panel. So there's measurements of how far you're supposed to measure down and what measurements you need to put on your pocket. We're going to stitch this, and I like to stitch zippers at a 2. I like a really small, tight stitch, especially if I'm using cotton. Less chance of fraying, less chance of puckering. But to be honest with you, I always get a little bit nervous. It's really crazy. I love top stitching because it's like a challenge to get that perfect stitch. But when it comes down to pockets, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes your girl's a little bit like intimidated. So we're going to start. And as you can see, I have glass head pins in place so that it doesn't shift. Now you could use like something like these sew tights. The quilting community uses a lot when we're like free motion quilting, but it also is really amazing when you're cutting in pockets and you don't want to use pins. But I did a room tour, but I'm going to do a tour individually for my sewing machines so you can see what's at my sewing desk, because I use pins, clips, hair clips, sew tights, pretty much anything to get the job done. A lot of glue. All right, so we're going to start. And always back stitch a few stitches just to ensure it. So many of you know I've talked about it before. My Abuelita was a seamstress. She had her own shop. She tailored and she made gowns. She did it from home, and she made her mini enterprise and got a lot of things from it. So certain things I've learned tips and tricks. Well, welt pockets are similar to slip pockets. Slip pockets, like if we didn't want to put a zipper on this, we could turn this into a slip pocket. And sometimes if I don't have the right zipper color, I'm not opposed to doing that. There's a lot. It's very similar to this, and there's tricks to get a really nice, clean finish, and I'm about to show it to you. You have to be one with your iron. I know a lot of people don't like ironing, but when you start loving it and realizing that you get a more professional finish and it'll satisfy you on the aesthetically pleasing looking pocket, you're just going to be keen on it. And I like to do a couple back stitches. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to take these pins out. And basically what I like to do is I like to prep my box before I cut it. It kind of just, I can't explain it. It just makes it easier, and I think I have a guide without. And I'm using a heat erasable marker. It's a friction pen. I chose purple because if it does reappear, there's purple and blues. So if you're going to use a friction pen on your thing because friction pens and markers are known to come back in colder weather. And I live in Maryland and the weather's getting cold. So anytime it hits 32 degrees or below, the color comes back after you thought it went away. My suggestion is have the friction pens in a variety of colors. And you're probably like, Nova, that's a lot of money and I don't want to do it. But there is a method to my madness. As you can see, this kind of blends in because there are greens, purples, orange, different colors. So if it appears in, it would have a more probability of looking like it was supposed to be there than having a stark black or a blue pen when there's no blues in this fabric. So it's kind of like edge paint or anything else. If you can blend it as best as you can and you can see it, then that's all that matters. And let's see. I'm going to poke a hole in this real quick and then I will cut. Okay. Oh, that wasn't good. Okay, I'm going to save that for later. Use the sharpest scissors you have. Just get as close as you can into into the corner without actually hitting the stitches. And I know that's difficult. If you accidentally hit the stitch, it's not the end of the world. You can go around it and create a 1/8 of an inch stitch line around it and start all over again. You'll be fine. Zipper pockets are more forgiving than people think. Okay. So I'm going to grab my board and show you what I do to try to help with this. So as you can see, the heat it's kind of gone. And what I do is I like to press the pocket on why it's facing the right sides together first, so that way the pocket is going to know how it's supposed to lay. Okay. Let's see. And some steam. Steam really does help set the stitches, so especially just go for it. If your fabric is shiny, that means that you're using too much heat, and definitely use you can use a sheet to protect it. You can use a baking sheet, you can use a Teflon sheet. There's special fabrics that you can use for ironing too. And then I like to make sure I pull the pocket so that I can see a little bit of the outside, just a little bit, so that way it just gives it a nice clean finish. I'm not using double-sided tape. You can use double-sided tape and it'll be fine. Just sometimes it just gums up your needles. There are special fabric ones you can use and it doesn't gum it up as much, but if you take the time with the iron, you can really get this down and you'll be fine. Alright. I have a little bit of puckering here, but it's not the end of the world. And I can definitely just hit it with some steam to see if it'll stretch out just a little bit and set differently. And we have a nice clean pocket. And like I said, if you don't have a zipper, you could turn this in to a slip pocket. Easy peasy. You could just top stitch this around and you have a nice slip pocket, you know? But we're going to install a zipper. And I'm going to put this iron down without trying to burn myself. I'm notorious for like burning myself. Alright, so we're going to grab the zipper tape that I had and do the same thing. I never cut the zipper tape until I'm about to do it because I don't know how long I'm going to need it. Like I said, I just cut a 1 inch longer than what is needed. And let's see, we're going to install it. I'm going to grab, this is really messy double-sided tape. I hate when it gets super, if it lays on anything, it collects everything. So I'm going to put, this is the wash away tape. I'm going to put, you can use pins on this as well in case you don't have it. Or you can eyeball it. I suck at eyeballing it. The zipper tape always comes out crooked when I do that. Okay. See, the wash away tape has like a white film versus the permanent one. And I'm going to just place the top part first, making sure it covers the tape. I'm doing the same thing here, just making sure it covers the tape and that there's enough zipper right here. Zipper tape so that way it could just, it could be anchored. And you're just trying to get it as center as possible. Okay. And then I'm going to grab a zipper pull. I'm going to just of course you want to act a donkey. Let's see, hold on. There we go. Okay, we have our zipper pull in there. Okay, so I'm going to start on one side and just go around. And again, for this, I like shorter stitches too, because this pocket style is not, it's, the zipper tape is showing in the inside, so I just like a smaller stitch for that extra security. I'm going 1/8 of an inch around, and I'm going to make sure I backstitch. You could pull the threads to the back, but you can also just backstitch on this, especially if your threads are matching the lining really well. When you stop, do needle down. You can move the zipper head so that way it's out of your way. Okay. I'm not going to lie to you, when I have a zipper pocket this style, I like to backstitch a few stitches over the tape just to get that extra security, and knowing that the zipper is not having too much, it just gives it security, extra stitches, I think. I'm going to move the zipper. Good. It kind of like, to me, is like the zipper stop, so that's why I do a couple stitches on the side. All right, so we're going to trim threads, and we're going to make this pocket. You're going to pop a few clips or pins, whatever you have on hand. And we're going to start on one side, and we're going to secure this this pocket. Make sure you back stitch. There's this part right here that, let me see if I can show you. There's a little V. I'll show you on this side. There's a V. Try to hit that V from the inside, so that way, again, it can anchor the pocket and the zipper together better. You're just moving around your fabric. Okay, we have a nice functional zipper pocket. It's pretty cool. I love this fabric. And we have that. So we're going to base this to the back, because we're going to make them as one unit. I'm going to trim threads. I'm like a thread magnet right now. Going to clip this. Oh, we're at the home stretch. Our next part is putting this together, and then we line. This has a really cool technique. And we will see it in just a moment after we base this. So you could do it front side or back side, whatever is easier for you. And baste it at 1/4 of an inch. I'm increasing my stitch length. And see how easy the sewable leather goes through? And I know you're probably like, well, no, but you have an industrial. The industrial that I'm on is a garment one. If you look up anything on Juki 5550, it is meant for garment sewing. It is what makes ball gowns, suits, pants, whatever. You could change out the feed dog, similar like you could change out the feed dog on like a Juki 2200 QVP P2 heavy duty, so you can have a thicker needle go through. But this is not a walking foot. This is a regular machine. It seems like it's more because it's powered by a servo motor, but realistically, it is the same machine as a domestic. And this has a little extra. I don't know. My fabric always stretches a little bit. So I'm going to sew down this side real quick, and then we will address the extra fabric. It's a little thicker on the parts that have the webbing, but it can get through. You could use a hump jumper too. I use a hump jumper on this machine a lot too sometimes. This is one of my favorite machines to sew with because I like the stitches and it goes fast. My brother's machine only goes up to like 800 stitches per minute, So I get frustrated when I want to go fast. Okay, and then I'm going to face this way and just do the bottom, and then I'll trim up the bottom. Okay, trim this up. Trim these loose threads over here. Alright, so we have our back piece with the back zipper pocket. We have our front piece with the snap that we did. And it has the handles, and it's just a plain backing on that side. And now we're going to get our gussets. You need to find your centers on both panels. And again, I do a 1/4, 1/8 of a snip, or you do a marking. And we are going to put the gusset in. One part of this the thing that's really important about this gusset is you're going to sew this gusset on, but you have to stop and start a 1/2 inch from each side. So I made a box that is a 1/2 inch on each piece, so that way we can stop and start. So we're going to start with the front pocket. Now it's in the pattern that this could be a little bit tricky and difficult because wax canvas doesn't want to stretch and give. So we're going to find our center on this and match it. And I'm going to put a clip right where it stops at a 1/2 inch. We're going to go over to our sewing machine, and we're going to sew this at a 1/2 inch, stopping and starting a 1/2 inch away from the beginning, the edge of the bag. It would help if I did a 1/2 inch and not 1/4 of an inch. Mark. Just cutting out the 1/4 inch mark. Okay, and back stitching. All right. Cutting the threads. And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom, and then we're going to be cutting into the 1/4 of an inch, the 1/2 inch mark. I keep saying 1/4, the 1/2 inch mark, and we're going to basically cut into, we're going to just put the handles down. We're going to make sure we clip into, very carefully, into the gusset seam, not the main panels at all. And this one seems to not have some marks for a 1/2 inch, so I'm going to make it right now. My watch keeps talking, so if you hear like a small voice in the background, that's not the kid. That is my watch, and they won't stop talking. Okay, add a 1/2 inch. Okay. So before we do the side panels, we're going to cut in a 1/2 inch into the gusset. Do not cut into the panel. That's why I made the little box so I knew exactly where to cut. Like it's a guide, but I don't cut the panel. But I know where to put my scissors to cut, to make sure I'm not cutting into the stitching, and make sure that I'm cutting the right amount. I know it's so scary because you're like, wait, I just made this. I don't want to cut it, but it makes a difference. Now what happens is it's easy to sew up the sides of this out a 1/2 inch because we cut into the gusset. It's now being more pliable. And again, stop and start at the 1/2 inch marks. Squish your bag, it's fine. Especially with wax canvas. The more crinkly it gets, the better it looks. It gives that age and rustic look. Okay, so we're going to do the other side. Man, these strings are like appearing out of nowhere. Okay. Pop a few pins. But to be honest with you, wax canvas is so stiff that like once you position it, it's kind of there until you move it again. Okay, so now I'm going to just show you what this looks like without a million strings on it, hopefully. So because we're doing it from this side, you can see that this bag is going to be dope. This is going to be a dope bag. So why I have it like this, I like to bind one side at a time so that way I'm not having to squish this bag down to do it. You're gonna wrestle if you're doing wax canvas. She does recommend a size 16 needle, which I do have in, and then we're going to bind it. Now I can't stress this enough. When you go to the supply list on this, there she says how many yards you need, and it's straight grain, not bias binding, straight grain. I usually like to use twill tape, but I didn't have any twill tape that match. I like to always start my binding at the top because people look down in the bag, they don't look up. So I'm going to open up my binding and I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to start from the center, and we're going to go around this 1/2 inch. And this is this is not kind of, it is shown on page 18 how to do it. So we're going to start it now. You can do this bag in vinyl or leather. I've done vinyl, but I think that it has a beautiful finish, and that scared me, Kendall. and cotton and wax canvas, especially if you want to try it. I want to actually try it in denim. So that might be my next time I make this bag, is with denim. And I just roll my binding out. I believe it's straight grain because it just helps with the boning of the bag. I like to use twill tape. If you're able to find twill tape, it gives it a really good structure. It's easy to work with. Okay. And just go over the corners and you kind of fold the binding in so that way it has enough to cover. And just keep up with that 1/2 inch. I like the binding method because sometimes birthing can just be exhausting, and I like the way binding looks inside the bag, and I love the structure it gets. It gives bones. Whenever you stop and you're pivoting, just have your needle down. We're almost getting to the top of the bag. Okay, and I'm just pivoting around. Oops. Let's see. So I'm bringing this around. I'm going to make a little bit of a tail. I'm bringing this around and overlapping the top part so that way my binding will come out clean, nice and finished. Alright, so the binding is, I'm overlapping it so that it has a clean finish. So what you do is you're just going to bring it around. And I like to just pop a few clips in it. And you want to cover up the previous stitching that you made. Definitely cut any loose threads. And I just pop a few clips in. You could definitely buy your pre-made binding at Joann's, and it could be bias binding, but just know that bias binding definitely has a stretch, so it won't. It'll give your bag structure, most definitely. It's just not as much structure if it was straight grain. It's easy to cut because you're going straight. There's no 45 degree angle like it is with bias binding, and it'll be good. And I think I make my bias tape, well, my binding tape at 2 1/4. Sometimes if it's too bulky and I know there's going to be a lot of bulk, then I'll do 2 1/2, which I believe I did 2 1/2 for this one. Don't quote me on that. You're just kind of like doing a picture frame. That's the way you have to think of it, and cutting out threads so that they're not forever in your bag. And then we're going to go around this and top stitch it. Now, I'm looking for my stiletto. I might have to grab another one over here. Bear with me. All right, so I personally like to not drop the seam ripper on my foot. I personally like to get a stiletto, so that way I can help tug the fabric to make sure the stitching is all lined up. Again, I like to start at the top because people don't really look at the top of the bag, they look at the bottom. And you're just going over the previous line, but you're just covering up. You're just trying to cover up a little over the line that you did. Taking off clips as you go. Squishing your bag, it's going to be fine. You can use like the purple thing or whatever is easier for you to use. It's something about this sharp little tool I just absolutely adore. Just follow your seam gauge. If you don't have marks, you can use wasabi tape. They have magnet tools that you can use to help with your seam. Painter's tape. And breathe, because I think a lot of people are intimidated by binding, but once you get it, you just want to bind every single bag because it gives it, I don't know, it just looks really professional. All the seams are closed off, and then you don't have to worry about birthing. But I'm not weird. I'm that person that likes the binding. I'm that person that likes to do drop-in linings. I don't know why. I like a challenge. I pretty much, you're not going to see me say I don't like something when it comes down to bag making or even clothes making, because it's all like teaching opportunities. And you can, from each bag, you can learn different bag making skills that just make you a better sewist. Like, I would have never even thought about cutting into the gusset to get a square shaped bag. This is like brilliant. Just consistently pull over the previous stitching so that way you don't see it. Take off your clips. And just find like the rhythm of your machine. I'm going to tell you to become one with your machine. And then I'm going to come over here and just back stitch, and we're done with one side of the binding. We have one to go and we're done. Not have a stiletto on our thing. So we have a crisp, clean binding, and then when we poke it out from, if we were to turn the bag inside out, and let's say it's all done right now, we just have one more side, so it's not too, we don't have that too much to go. We have like a really cool bag shape. Like, it's super cool. Like, and then, like I said, I really like this. I didn't think I was going to like the rest, but I'm kind of feeling it now. All right, so we're going to turn this back so we can attach the back piece. Now the back piece is going to be a little bit more, no, it's so thick, but you got this. We can totally do it. It's doable. Use a size 16 needle. Take your time, and we got this. So we're going to make sure it's right sides together. Find your center marks. I clip to where the 1/2 inch mark is. And we're going to squish our bag, and we're going to sew from the 1/2 inch mark I'm going to go on the other side because that's where the marks are. See? We're going to go from the 1/2 inch mark and do the same thing we did. Take your time, it's fine, there's not a race. It is I think it's like, because it's a little bit bulkier, it just feels like it's more, but it's not. It's just you maneuvering more to get it into the right position. And we're going to stop at the 1/2 inch and just, back stitch a couple stitches. Trimming the threads. Now we're going to go on this side. I'm just popping in a few clips. Okay. Just moving things out of the way. We totally got this at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I keep saying that because I have to remind myself, because my body automatically wants to go to 1/4 of an inch all the time. Okay, it's going to be a little thick because we're going over leather and what is it called? Sweating. Stopping at the 1/2 inch back stitching. And then we're going to cut into our gusset a 1/2 inch into it. If you made that little box, just follow, you can just kind of glide your scissors onto that box and stop at the 1/4 of an inch. I'm 1/4, see? 1/2 inch, and then snip it. And you know you're not going too far because you're within the box. Okay, let's do this on this side. I promise you the bag keeps just collecting thread. And it, instantly when you do that 1/2 inch, it releases. All right. So now we're going to pop some clips in and do the sides of the bag. You really can see this bag taking shape. Okay, and I know it's a lot to maneuver, but it's going to be so worth it. 1/2 inch. And just take your time, make sure raw edges are touching raw edges. Okay, other side, and then we're gonna bind it. We're almost done. I feel like this is a fast make. Once you make it once, you're gonna be like, I want to make a million of them. It's a beautiful bag. It's a nice backpack structure. It's perfect for anybody. Like, I would love to try it to see if I can make one in all leather. I'm just curious if I can. But this bag could be a diaper bag, an overnight bag, computer bag for work. It could be a commuter's bag. There's a lot of endless possibilities with this. Sorry, I'm just squishing my bag. Okay, so now we're going to start binding. And trimming threads that magically appear out of nowhere. All right, and again, I like to bind on the very, very, very top because no one sees inside. Okay. So I'm trimming hair, like little rogue threads. All right. So I'm going to open up my bias binding. I'm going to fold in the top part just like we did last time, about a 1/2 inch. Put this on the center, and we're going to go around again at the 1/2 inch. Do a few back stitch. Squishing the bag. Putting my needle down when I'm going around corners. And pivoting. enjoy this process. I know everybody's like, I want to hurry up and make the bag, but there's a process. There's a skill you're learning. Think of it like when you're learning new recipes, you get a joy because you get to just try ingredients that you never tried before. Or like if you're painting and you're trying, you know, different paints from a different country or a different method, you have enjoy the process. This is a beautiful art. This person who created this pattern made something that is truly unique, and there's a lot of cool techniques that you can learn. Like I don't see a lot of square backpacks, so enjoy this process, and now you have achieved another like sewing star. Like it's pretty amazing. If you can't tell, I have a high esteem for designers. And anyone that sews, I love to see how other people make bags and what they took and how they made it different. Just making sure opening up the binding. If the stitching is getting too hard, maybe increase your stitching from like a 3 to a 3.5 or a 4. Sometimes that helps tremendously. Denim needle, size 16, and just take your time. Okay, we're at the home stretch, so I'm really excited to see how this looks when it's all turned right sides together. I make a longer tail. You know, Black Friday's coming up, so my husband and I are looking at it for another camera, maybe to get a bird's eye view from here so you can see better. And I'm looking at different lighting to make sure that this is illuminating more. So we're definitely trying. If you have any suggestions or really great lighting or cameras that you like, please leave them down in the comment section. I check the comments and reply daily, and if I can't, my husband will. And as you heard in the background, woohoo. All right, so we're going to flip this around and do the same thing we did. We're going to, I like to clip the sides first because I kind of fold in. See all these threads? Wow, come on. Stop with the threads already. All right, so I'm going to, you're trying to cover your previous row of stitching and just pop some clips in it, and the binding kind of just wants to automatically curl over because you ironed it, so it can fit together. Or if you have pre-made double wide, then it'll be easy peasy. If you when you get this pattern, the cover is exactly what I seen in the Making It magazine, and I automatically was like, this backpack is so different. I still say it. I remember, I think I made the first one 2 years ago, and it's amazing. It's an amazing, unique backpack, and I'm hoping that the people that are watching here buys the pattern and flood the walls in the sewing groups and on Facebook and Instagram with this pattern, because it literally needs to be everywhere. It is so unique to me. I could just see people hiking with this bag. I could see it becoming a baby's bag. I could see it a commuter's bag. You name it, I think you can do it. All right, so we're gonna squish the bag. I'm gonna grab my stiletto, And like I said, I love to start in a corner first. There's no rhyme or reason, it's just what I prefer. And I always like to start at the top where I put the binding together so that way it looks seamless. And I'm just grabbing random threads. I'm excited, but I don't want to rush and mess up the stitching, so I'm trying to hold my composure, which, yeah, I suck at that, I'm not going to lie. This part, I think I also like to do the top because it's the part that has the most bulk. So I know this is going to be a little bit harder to go through and take my time. The rest of the bag has not a lot of bulk except the top and the two connectors on the side. But if you can get through the top, the rest is easy peasy. Okay, I'm going to squish the bag. Use our stiletto and keep the binding nice and taut. I know it's a lot to maneuver, but you got this. And you stop, needle down. I'm going to start pivoting and squishing. And I'm kind of holding the bag up like this because I'm just going around and getting this binding done. Okay, we did it. Let's turn this bag right sides out, trim any threads. Let's see. But look how that is. I saw them attached to my sewing machine. Okay, so look how it is. It's like a frame. It is super full. You have your nice zipper pocket. The other side is empty, but this is where you can do, like, people are like, oh, modifications. This is where you do it. You can put a slip pocket here. You can do a credit card slot. You can, there's just a lot of things you can do. You have a see-through pocket. But now we're going to turn this right sides out. I'm going to drink some water so that way we can turn this inside out. Totally stay hydrated. Okay. So what I like to do is I like to take the corner and just like kind of push it into my hand and pull it from that side. It's going to be, if you're using wax canvas, it's going to be a little, not hard, it's going to be a little, it doesn't want to behave. And yeah, it's super stiff. But it'll pop, everything will pop out. The binding kind of gives it its bone structure, and it starts to mold into the shape it's supposed to be. And I'm doing the same thing here. I'm going to poke out the corners. Off the clips of this. Now, you can use a blow dryer on low settings to remove the wrinkles and the creases, but I'm telling you, the more wrinkly this gets, the better. It just looks really cool. It feels like very Indiana Jones. Or there's really cool messengers in Philadelphia, and they usually have wax canvas backs because out here it rains more than anything any time of the year. So they have wax canvas to protect the papers from carrier, if they're a carrier, to bring it to another facility. It's pretty cool. And you just take your time and mold the shape. And you're gonna have a fantastic, this is so cute, a fantastic bag. And like I said, I know some people don't like the creases. I do, because it gives it character. But you can do it on a low setting if you want to remove it, but know that it's going to crease again. So what we have is a optional, you can use a magnetic or a spring snap or even a cam snap. There's like super cute ones that have like different symbols on it. You have your snap. It's a nice secure pocket. And I love the fact that it's not the whole pocket, because things can get lost in it. And because of having that nice circle thing, not only is it a beautiful accent feature on the bag, but it also is just a better security measure. And pop that back in. And then we have our straps in the back. It looks really cool. I opted for leather handles, but it does ask for webbing. So imagine this with like the nice maroon, but I like the leather handles because it gives it, again, texture. I did a double zip. And when you go inside, you have this beautiful lining with a zipper pocket. If you wanted to start modifying bags, this is a great bag to start looking at different things. You could put a slip pocket in the back, so it's like a security thing where your cell phone and your wallet is actually on your back, so no one can go into your backpack and get it. You could put different pockets and dividers inside this bag and have at it. It's a very unique and fun bag. So we just finished the making it backpack, making it pack, and it is from Noodlehead. I'm going to have all the information in the description box, as well as where I got my wax canvas, where you can get sewable leather, where I got my rivets, the whole 9 yards. If something is not in the description box that you want to see, please let me know, and I will give you all the information I could possibly give. None of this is like, I'm so happy that I was able to make this bag. The people at Noodlehead, oh, I'm losing my voice. The people at Noodlehead gave me the opportunity to make this, to do a tutorial. She does have a tutorial on here, and I'm hoping that I was able to help somebody if they were trying to make this bag. Her films are awesome, and they help me tremendously. So I'm hoping that one day I can be on that level and help people as much as I possibly can. Again, if you have any questions, I'll be more than willing to answer any of them. And I really appreciate you stopping by and watching the video. If you can like, subscribe, and share if you like, I would greatly appreciate it. And until the next time we meet, I hope you have a really wonderful day. Bye.